So, team, keep it clean. We told y'all if we heard or saw anything in regards to Zay Flowers, we will let y'all know, and that's exactly what we're getting ready to do right now. Before we get into it, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any single Baltimore Ravens updates with good stuff or with unfortunate stuff like this. Also, even though we don't like the news, you can still leave a like on the video because it helps out the channel a ton. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all so much. Let's get into it. So, we all know that Zay Flowers, he left the game in the first half with a knee injury, and it was sort of a weird knee injury because it wasn't a non-contact knee injury, but it didn't look like his knee got hit like head on. So I was wondering, like, man, what happened? It was just so weird. But it was all obviously unfortunate because Zay Flowers is a huge part of everything that the Baltimore Ravens do on offense. Zay Flowers is somebody that gets a lot of targets, a lot of opportunities, and he's very, very involved with Baltimore Ravens offense. So losing him for any amount of time, it is big and it's very, very significant because Zay Flowers is a baller. Zay Flowers is a Pro Bowler. Shout out to him for breaking Ravens history this week. But anyway, Zay Flowers, he left the game in the first half and was ruled out early on in the second half, and that ended his day. And what I was thinking was that Ravens they're playing it safe. They're not trying to bring him back because this is not a game where he's needed. But anyway, we got an update on Zay Flowers. This is from Ingravenvids. He said, Ravens Pro Bowl wide receiver Zay Flowers, who was ruled out with a knee injury, is believed to have suffered a sprain, sources say, pending the MRI. So that is good news considered what it could have possibly been, but here goes the tricky part. He says it's not considered a major injury. So more good news on Zay Flowers, but he said, though there is a real chance that he misses next week. If Baltimore takes care of business, he could be back. So, Ian Rappaport letting it be known, like, hey, Zay Flowers could miss the wild card game, whether it's against the Steelers or the Chargers. It'll be against one of those two teams. We'll find that out between tonight and tomorrow. So that is very, very significant because, like we said, Zay Flowers is a huge part of everything that the Baltimore Ravens do on offense. And Jordan Schultz, he also said initial test showed Ravens Pro Bowl wide receiver suffered a knee sprain and is considered week to week. He will undergo more testing per source. I know John Harbaugh said that Zay Flowers was going to get an MRI tomorrow morning. So I guess they confirming what the injury is, and then tomorrow they're going to see, I guess, the real severity of it. And then we'll know more information as every day passes. And then, of course, once the Baltimore Ravens, they begin practicing next week, then we'll see, hey, is Zay Flowers out there or is Zay Flowers not out there? By the way these reports doesn't sound like he's going to be out there practicing. Obviously, we would love for him to be. And it's playoff time now. Like, it's not regular season. That's out the window. Regular season is officially done for the Baltimore Ravens. So now, like, guys are really like, and everybody's beat up, of course, but Zay Flowers got an actual injury that's significant enough to where it could possibly keep him out of the lineup for whoever the Baltimore Ravens opponent is in the wild card game. And that's a big blow because y'all know already, like, Zay Flowers, he's one of them guys for the Baltimore Ravens. He's like that. He really, really is, and he does so much, and he does it at a high level. So yeah, man, it's a tough blow. But how can the Baltimore Ravens recover from possibly not having Zay Flowers for this next upcoming game? Well, it's a couple of different ways. Obviously, Rashad Bateman, a lot more would be put on his plate. And we saw how it happened tonight against the Browns. We saw how Rashad Bateman, he responded. And Rashad Bateman, he had even went out with injury after he got whacked by Juan Thornhill, but he came back, and he ain't looked back since then. He did his thing. He was balling out, and he was going off. He even got him a touchdown and everything to end off his season. So great job by Rashad Bateman. But now he will be called upon and relied upon that much more. Tylan Wallace, he could possibly have a bigger role, but somebody I really see having a bigger role, much bigger than Tylan Wallace, will be Nelson Agholor. And I know with Ravens fans, they're a little like shaky on Nelson Agholor and whatnot, but I could see him being a lot more involved in the Baltimore Ravens offense if it comes down to Zay Flowers missing the game. Then you have Tez Walker too. I know Ravens are kind of like, seems like they're still a little bit iffy on him. They don't want to just throw him out there to the Wolves yet, but they have been having him out there a bit more on offense. So shout out to him, and started on special teams and he moved on to offense. So he's been really, he ain't been involved too much, but he's been out there a lot more. So he's definitely earned his reps through his special teams play. Now, those just the wide receivers, though. The Baltimore Ravens can actually counter as best as they possibly can. They can counter the loss of Zay Flowers through Derrick Henry, through Keaton Mitchell, through Lamar Jackson, and through even Rasheen Ali. They can help counter the loss of Zay Flowers through a really, really strong and dominant running game. Now, we know, of course, the defense, whoever the defense that they play, whether it be the Steelers, whether it be the Chargers, they're going to bring it. And they're going to do everything that they possibly can to stop Derrick Henry, because you don't even want to get him started. But still, if the Baltimore Ravens can have a strong run game, that can make life easier for them without Zay Flowers. Now, we talked about the wide receivers that could sort of take over for Zay Flowers. We also talked about how the run game could take over for Zay Flowers. Another thing that could help a lot, the tight ends. The tight ends. And we even saw it in tonight's game. After Zay Flowers went out, we know that the Baltimore Ravens, they run like 1,000,002 screens to Zay Flowers all the time. They always running them screen plays to Zay Flowers, for better or for worse. Usually it's for better, especially Zay Flowers be making people miss and whatnot. But they actually continue that. But they had a different Zay catching a screen pass, that being Isaiah Likely. So with Zay Flowers possibly being out, you could expect to see Isaiah Likely a lot more involved in the offense than he's already really involved in the offense. Obviously, Mark Andrews over involved in the offense as usual. But Isaiah Likely, he could get a lot more reps. They can move him out to wide receiver a lot. They could just move him around like they do already. So it's nice when the injury sucks. Injuries are the worst part about the game. Injuries are the worst part about football. It's very frustrating because it takes away from a team. It takes away from how good or how great they are, because they're missing somebody, especially when it's somebody that's really, really good, like Zay Flowers. But now Ravens they got to keep this thing moving. They got to keep pushing and they got to keep going. So, again, like Ian Rappaport talked about, if Zay Flowers does miss this game this week, that's still an if. It's not official yet. Again, tomorrow we'll know more, but if he does miss this game, the first playoff game next week, then he could be available for the following playoff game. So it'd be nice for the Baltimore Ravens to get him back. So now a lot more has been put on the plate of a Lamar Jackson. I know you're probably thinking like, man, we're so used to that, but this is a different way. But a lot more has also been put on the plate of Todd Monken, because they're really going to have to dig into this thing, dig into this offense, and really just maximize a lot of other guys now with Zay Flowers being out. But hopefully we can get a nice surprise. Hopefully we get a nice surprise when Ravens first start practicing and preparing for whoever they're going to be going up against next week. And this is a real nice thing too. One thing to think about with this injury, I guess the only positive about it is that I guess he might, depending on when their playoff game is, but he might have an extra day of rest. Say, for instance, if their playoff game is next Sunday instead of Saturday, or if it's on next Monday night instead of Sunday. So we won't know until we know, but he could possibly, if it's on Sunday or Monday, then he could have that extra day to possibly get right and maybe, just maybe be available for the maybe. I know right now it's a huge maybe. Again, after the MRI is official tomorrow morning, like John Harbaugh said, we should know more. So everything really depends on that. So we'll wait for that update straight from the Baltimore Ravens tomorrow on Zay Flowers. But we obviously hoping for the best, man. We really are. This is again, worst part of the game. Worst part of the game, most unfortunate part of the game is injuries, because they are absolutely terrible. They absolutely suck. But and we feel for Zay Flowers too, because Zay Flowers, y'all know Zay Flowers, like always smile, 25-8. That's how much he's smiling. Not even 24/7, 25-8. The dude always walking around with a big cheese, a big grin on his face all the time. So that makes it like hurt more for him that he is going to miss however much time, if he does miss any time at all. But it just sucks that he even has this injury in the first place. But Ravens, they got to keep it pushing. They got to keep it moving. And then just whether Zay plays this game or Zay ends up coming back next week, you just got to win out regardless.